नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो
Hmm.
भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Yes, we're doing text number 3 today, right? निगम कल्प तरोर गलितम फलम
निगम पल कल्पोतर फलितगम
शुक मुखाद अमृत द्रव संयुतम
सुख मुखादमृत
अमृतद्रवसंयुतम्
अमृत द्रव्य सुजतम
पिबत भागवतम रसमालयम
पिबत भागवतं रसमालयम्
भागवतम रसमालयम
मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुक।
मुहुरहोरसिक
मौरहो
दीपक।
रसिका भुवि भावुका।
Yes, so I would like to read.
May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, please.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Shall I continue with the purport, Prabhuji?
Yes, please. You can read maybe the first two paragraphs.
Okay, Prabhuji. Purport. In the two previous shlokas, it has been definitely proved that Srimad Bhagavatam is a sublime literature which surpasses all the Vedic scriptures due to transcendental qualities. It is transcendental to all mundane activities and mundane knowledge. In this shloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a superior literature, but it is a ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures. In other words, it is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. Considering all this, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons imparted by Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas are compared to the desire tree because they contain all things knowable by man. They deal with mundane necessities as well as spiritual realization. The Vedas contain regulative principles of knowledge covering social, political, religious, economic, military, medicinal, chemical, physical, and metaphysical subject matter, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. Above and beyond all this are specific directions for spiritual realization. Regulative knowledge involves a gradual raising of living entity to the spiritual platform, and the highest spiritual realization is the knowledge that personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, know, O thoughtful men, that Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this nectarian fruit is all the more relishable by the liberated souls. See, in the previous verse, we have seen that dharma projito kaitavo vatra nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon moolanam. So, this Bhagavad Purana, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth which is understandable by those who are pure in heart. The highest truth is really reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Now, please try to understand this part here. In the whole of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna starts by telling, Ashocyan anvashochastvam pragya vachamsta bhashasi. That, oh my dear Arjun, you're speaking like a learned man while talking like a fool. You know nothing. Pragya vadamscha bhashasi. You're speaking like a wise man, but you are lamenting for something which is not lamentable. So Krishna actually calls Arjuna a fool, that you don't know the reality. See, Srimad Bhagavatam is actually meant to be studied by those who have decided to give up material life. Srimad Bhagavatam is not an entertainment literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is not for casual listener. Actually, if a casual listener listens to Bhagavatam and just goes back to his own life, he's actually committing an offense. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for only the serious readers. So there are many Puranas. There is like Ramayana, there is Mahabharata, which is an entertainment. Like Srila Prabhupada explains that these Puranas, they are full of stories of karma kand. There is intrigue. If we hear Ramayana, Kaikeyi is plotting something. Manthara has something in her mind. She poisons the mind of Kaikeyi. She speaks something. And then Ram is banished. Then Lakshmana goes with him. Then Ravana comes, and so many things happen. So many things are described there. But Srimad Bhagavatam cuts through all of that. So Ramayana, for example, talks about morality, talks about maryada, limits of religion and everything. But Bhagavatam begins with one simple verse, that the story of Lord Ram is to show that the association of opposite sex brings misery. That's it. Cuts to the point straight away. Shrimad Bhagavatam is not meant for casual reader. If one pays very careful attention, one's material attachments will be cut. But one has to also make an effort. So, mm, like Vedic literatures are full of so many descriptions. Vedic literatures are essentially karma and jnana. So if you see, for example, Vedas do not clearly specify what is the purpose of life. There are so many. So yajnas do specify that Krishna, that Yajna Purush or Narayan is the supreme objective, but they do not split. They do not express it very clearly. There are hundreds, there are millions of yajnas being prescribed for so many types of material enjoyments. But the objective of that yajna, the Supreme Lord Himself, is not very clearly delineated. So one who manages to go through the Vedas eventually reaches the Upanishads. Even in the Upanishads, one becomes confused because Upanishads do not clearly spell out the personality of Godhead. So Srimad Bhagavatam, it cuts out, dharma projito kaitava. So all this, okay, you can do this yajna, enjoy life this way, or you can get good health or this and that. All that is a form of cheating. Projihito kaitava dharma. It's like cheating religion. Because even though it tells you that you should worship the Supreme Lord, you should worship Narayan for fulfillment of your wishes, still it does not completely clarify that Narayan actually is the only objective. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata. The purpose of human life is not sense gratification, only the purpose of human life. Trying to understand the real objective. That's the only purpose of human life. So that's the speciality of Srimad Bhagavatam, that it directly begins with the point and sticks to the point. It does not wander here and there. So regulated knowledge involves gradually raising of the living entity to the spiritual platform, and the highest spiritual realization is to know that personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. So Vedas gradually raise the consciousness, but in that gradual raising, there is every chance that the living entity will fall prey to Maya again. If you're enjoying so much of wealth in the name of religion, if you're enjoying so much opulence, where is the question of renunciation? So therefore, the mind of a materialist will keep getting attracted to the material energy over and over again. Even though those who are in the lower modes of nature, like ignorance and passion, they may not be so easily convinced about the real objective of life, and the Vedas are directed at them to gradually elevate their consciousness. Still, they lay out so many traps for a sadhak. So we can see there are so many Yajnavalka Brahmanas, there are so many Vedantics who have gotten trapped by the mode of goodness itself. The purpose of Vedas is to raise someone to goodness, but beyond goodness lies transcendence. So if one does not cross the mode of goodness also and reach transcendence, one's life will be a failure. Because goodness is also tainted with ignorance within the material world. So this little taint of ignorance or passion can drag the living entity down to hell once again. Like we see the story of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra, out of passion, he wanted to become a great sage. He was a king. He wanted to become a Brahmarshi. because he had seen Rishi Vasishtha. So he practiced very hard. But because he did not cultivate pure devotion to the Lord, he became entangled by lust. And that too after 8,000 years. And then he again went into tapasya. Again, he spent a similar time. And the next time he fell prey to anger, wrath. So in this way, the path of karma and jnana is full of many traps. And any moment, anyone can fall down. Like Srila Prabhupada says, that the process of yoga to purify one's mind is like cleaning some dirty water with some chemical. The dirt will settle down at the bottom and one may get the illusion of being completely purified. But any moment there is agitation, this dirt will rise again. So the yogi who's trying to understand the Paramatma within the heart, any moment there is a material allurement or there's a slight desire in the heart, all this dirt will come up and one will fall back into material whirlpool. Hare Krishna. Yes, please continue. Would someone else like to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I will read.
Yes.
Every living entity, beginning from the Brahma, the firstborn living being within the material world, down to the insignificant ant, desired to realize some sort of the taste derived from the sense precipitation. These sensual pleasure are technically called rasas. Such a rasas are different variant. In the revealed scripture, the following 12 variety of rasa are enumerated. First, Rudra, anger. Ahuda, wonder. 3, Srangra, conjugal love. 4th, Hashya. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, scroll कीजिए. Hashya.
I'll read this. I think Prabhuji. Hasya is comedy. Veera, chivalry. Daya, mercy. Dasya, servitorship. Sakhya, fraternity. Bhayanak, horror. Vibhatsa, shock. Shanta, neutrality. Vatsalya, parenthood. The sum total of all these rasas is called affection or love. Primarily, such signs of love are manifested in adoration, service, friendship, eternal affection, and conjugal love. And when these five are absent, love is present indirectly in anger, wonder, comedy, chivalry, fear, shock, and so on. For example, when a man is in love with a woman, the ras is called conjugal, conjugal love. But when such love affairs are disturbed, there may be wonder, anger, shock, or even horror. Okay. Sometimes love affairs between two persons culminate in ghastly murder scenes. Such rasas are displayed between man and a man and between animal and animal. There is no possibility of an exchange of rasa between a man and an animal or between a man and any other species of living beings within the material world. The rasas are exchanged between members of the same species. But as far as the spirit souls are concerned, they are only one qualitatively with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the rasas were originally exchanged between the spiritual living being and the spiritual whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual exchange or rasa is fully exhibited in spiritual existence between living beings and the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore described in the Shruti mantras, Vedic hymns, as the fountainhead of all rasas. When one associates with the Supreme Lord and exchanges one's constitutional rasa with the Lord, then the living being is actually happy. These Shruti mantras indicate that every living being has its constitutional position, which is endowed with a particular type of rasa, which is to be exchanged with the personality of Godhead. In the liberated condition only, this primary rasa is experienced in full. In the material existence, the rasa is experienced in the perverted form, which is temporary. And thus the rasas of the material world are exhibited in the material form of a Raudra and so on. Therefore, one who attains full knowledge of these different rasas, which are the basic principles of activities, can understand the false representations of the original rasas which are reflected in the material world. The learned scholars The learned scholar seeks to relish the real rasa in the spiritual form. In the beginning, he desires to become one with the Supreme. Thus, intelligent transcendentalists cannot go beyond this conception of becoming one with the spirit whole without knowing the different rasas. So, now this is a very interesting point here. And many sages of different traditions have explained this point in so many ways, And this is the crux of all spiritual life. This is the crux of spiritual life. If actually one understands these paragraphs, one will actually understand the reconciliation between all the religious and so-called spiritual processes. So we have discussed 12 types of rasas here. Rasas are also called mellows or different types of feelings. So within this material world, we experience so many feelings. We see a motor accident, we are horrified. We hear some bad news, we are shocked. We see something, like a car going on the street. We are shant, neutral. We don't feel anything. We see a small child or some small animal, we feel vatsalya. We see, we see somebody powerful, then it's dasya. We see someone in misery, we feel daya. When we feel like we should defend someone, this is veera, chivalry. There is hasya, comedy. There is conjugal love, men and women, all the entertainment industry is based around it. There is, that is Shringara. There is Adbhuta. You see, like when an aeroplane takes off, I was once going to the airport, and when aeroplane took off, and I saw men were just standing and looking at the plane flying off. Adbhuta. Or there is a solar eclipse. People look at it. Adbhuta. Wonder. There is a Raudra. I mean, the whole world is practically boiling right now. So Raudra. So all this is existing. But actually, these are not real rasas. Within this material world, these are different types of illusions. For example, if you have jaundice, then the salty food tastes bitter. And you may think, oh, there is something wrong. But in the liver disease, salt tastes bitter. So that's the nature of the disease. The food is the same, your tongue is the same, but just the perception has changed. So within this material world, we are in a diseased condition. But you may say that, we experience all these. So what? Then how do you say that this is false? So actually, like for example, uh, you may have a wife and you'll feel, oh, this wife, she's so nice, she's so beautiful, and you will feel romantic. But you don't know who she really is. 50 years ago, she may have been your grandfather, or she may have been very much your grandmother. But now in this birth, she has taken the form of a beautiful lady and you think she's beautiful. And you are experiencing some romantic attraction, Shringara. But actually, that's not a reality because 100 years down the line, you don't know. She may become a hog, she may become a tree, she may become an elephant. Then you won't feel the same. If someone takes you to, say, a horse field, to some, prairie grounds, and there you see some horses, and someone says, hey, see that horse in 10 births 10 births ago, this was your wife. Will you feel romantic feelings? No. The soul is the same. You are the same. Then why don't you feel romance now? No, because the external forms has changed. So your so-called Shringara ras was just an external rasa. Like I remember when I was a small child, there was this very famous Bollywood actress, Hema Malini. Everybody was very feeling romantic for her, but now nobody feels that way because she's so old. It's the same soul, it's the same body also, but no one feels any attraction to her. So you see, this is the illusion of the material world. But where are these feelings coming from? These feelings are real. They are just getting perverted. The honey inside the bottle is still honey. It looks still the honey. It feels still honey, but you can't taste it. You try to lick the bottle, but nothing will come of it. You will see the honey, but you won't be able to relish it. So therefore, in this material body, we perceive the form of the spirit soul, but we do not perceive the soul itself. And therefore, we become wrongly attracted to the material forms. And because they are false, we do not get any taste. Why are there so many divorces? In the West, it's like 50-60% marriages are in divorce. In India, it's now close to 40%. Why is that? Where is the Shingara Ras gone then? Where is that conjugal Ras gone? Because this was a perversion. This was just an illusion. When you look at the sky, and you see the moon, then the clouds come and the moon disappears. Now you may think, oh, the moon has disappeared, but moon is very much there. You can have some perception of the moon by looking at the faint glow through the clouds, but you'll not see the moon. So just like that, within this material body, we are covered by the cloud of Maya and we are not able to perceive the reality. So what is this original rus? This original rus exists between the supreme, absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, and us, the living entity. Krishna says, Mameva ansha jiva loke jivbhut sanatana manashasthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. So, Mameva ansha jiva loke, the living entities are my parts and parcels. In the Vishnu Purana also it is said, in the beginning was the one, and he divided himself into unlimited parts for his own pleasure. So, what is his pleasure? His pleasure is love. Aradhyo Shrimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan. So the so-called rasas or love we are talking about is a reality. It's a very much reality. But we are not able to perceive it because we are in a wrong condition right now. So once we are able to remove this conditioning, all this will flourish. And that's the objective of spiritual life, to realize the absolute personality of Godhead and relish this loving affair with Him. So all these 12 rasas we are seeing, living entities fall within these. And they enjoy a variety of pastimes eternally. In this world, we have to suffer. Relationships break. Mother will die, father will die, husband will die, wife will die. The body will also die. And that will be misery. But in spiritual world, these rasas are ever manifesting. In the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that these rasas or these mellows are ever expanding in the spiritual world. In this world, for example, a man and woman fall in love, but after 10 years, okay, it's no longer relishable. Sorry, I don't love you anymore. But in spiritual world, no. If you love Krishna, this love keeps on expanding because every day Krishna changes, you change. Your love keeps on expanding more and more. These rasas are ever increasing. There is no boredom in the spiritual world. That's just a feature of material world because of the mode of ignorance. So these rasas are primarily exchanged between the soul, spirit soul, and the supreme. It's not really experienced between this one soul and another soul, especially within the material world. In the spiritual world, there are, so one may think, okay, especially if you are coming from Abrahamic backgrounds, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, or something, there is always a fear that after I lose my bodily form, if I become spiritual, then I'll have to live alone. God will be like some shining cloud, and I'll be just staring at him for eternity. But that is not the truth. That is just Brahman. That is just a partial aspect of the Supreme. The Supreme Lord is very beautiful. Shama Sundar, beautiful dark. So it is described. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabha Durlabham Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Lord Brahma is saying, He's Advaita. He's one without a second. He encompasses the whole creation. Advaita, Achyuta. He's infallible. Anadi Ananta Rupam. He has no beginning, no end. Eternal form. Advaita Achyutam Anadi Ananta Rupam. Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. He is the original oldest personality. There was no one before him. As you know, and he is like, for example, the great poet Mirza Ghalib of Delhi, he used to sing. He had composed a poem, "Jo na tha kuch khuda tha, jo na hota khuda hota." So when there was nothing, there was the Lord, and when there will be nothing, there will still be the Supreme Lord. In the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the elephant Gajendra is praying the same thing, that this material world is darkness. When this material world is unmanifest, there is darkness, but beyond this darkness is the absolute personality of Godhead. I offer my obeisances to Him. But what is this personality? Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. He's not some old angry man sitting and punishing people. Navayovanam Cha. He's a beautiful, handsome youth. The Bhagavatam describes him as an ever fresh youth of 14 years age. Imagine. Radha and Krishna are children. They are the supreme eternal truth, but they are like children. Actually, Radha and Krishna are one and the same. The feminine energy of the Lord is Srimati Radharani. She encompasses all the feminine traits, mercy, cleverness, intelligence, compassion. All these feminine traits are coming from Srimati Radharani. And she's eternally dear to Krishna. They are not separate. In fact, when they do come together, that's Lord Chaitanya. So that's the position. So imagine if you are in the presence of such a personality of Godhead. How happy will you be? Will there be any limit to your happiness? Will there be any fear, pain, or anxiety? No. That's why it is called Vaikuntha. No anxiety, no fear, no pain. That's Krishna. So every living entity has a specific rasa with the Supreme. Every living entity. The whole process of spiritual life is to realize Him. So the more one surrenders to the Supreme, the more this rasa becomes manifest. In the early stages, it is manifest in the process of sadhana itself. And as one goes on doing sadhana with more and more enthusiasm, this manifests as bhava or feelings for the Lord. And when these feelings mature, then they develop into prema. And that is the position of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. And that's why it is said here, that it emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this nectarian fruit is all the more relishable by the liberated souls. Srimad Bhagavatam was already relishable, but it is coming from the mouth of Shukadeva, who is in the stage of prema. So you can imagine how much more love he is pouring into these verses. And by understanding these verses very deeply, one will become endowed with the love of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes. Any questions or comments? Yes. Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is writing that such rasas are displayed between man and between animal and animal. So, but you said, okay, this is not possible between one soul and another. It is possible with the Lord only. So, and this is one question. And the other thing is, we also see that there are so many, he also says that it is exhibited between the members of the same species. But we see that there are so many loving exchanges between a pet and man. So what does that mean? Two things. One is because you said that it is not exhibited between two souls in this material world. Here, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning. So what does he mean when he's saying this? That it is
Okay,
seen.
first thing is, what we are seeing as rasa are merely reflections. So the Shangar ras, Vatsalya ras, all these are just reflections. Like, for example, one may see, oh, this is my child, he's so beautiful, so nice. And the child will also say, oh, this is my mother, this is my father, so nice. But when the same child grows up, he says, oh my God, this old woman, she's just harassing me, or this old man, he's so much trouble. I mean, we see such cases so many times. So, so even the so-called Vatsalya ras within this material world is not really the real ras. It degrades over a period of time between even a man and a man, or animal and an animal. Especially between man and animal, there is no rasa. What we are seeing is just a material affection. So, for example, I may think that this elephant is so beautiful, it's like my child. But elephant doesn't have any such feelings. Elephant simply sees me as a nourisher. It feels some affection, but that cannot be called vatsalya ras. Dogs, cats, they just need some affection, but that's not really a rasa. Because the cat will never be a child. The cat will remain a cat only. A child will display the symptoms of vatsalya ras. It will respect the father, respect the mother. Animal will do no such thing. Because it's not that the rasa is just a standalone rasa. It's not just a feeling. There are reciprocations that define this rasa. So in animals, actually within animals also, this rasa is not so clearly manifest. Like pigs. In pigs especially. Like pigs will mate with their own mother and sister also. So how do we say that Vatsalya converts to Madhurya rasa or what like? So you see. So all these rasas are mere perversions, but between man and animal, this is just some sort of affection, not really a rasa. Because animal does not understand what is this rasa. Animal simply sees the human being as a nourisher.
Okay. So you mean to say that there is no rasa between any two souls in this material world? It's
No,
a
if there
reflection.
is,
But
if
that
it
is
appears, yeah, it's just a reflection. For example, a cat will be very merciful to its own kitten, but a human child, she'll think that is just okay, another big human. That's all.
so here Srila Prabhupada is not like specifically going into the detail and mentioning that it's a reflection. He's just mentioning it as rasas.
He has mentioned this. See here. Hmm. Mm, Here in this paragraph, he mentions. So the Vedas contain regulated principles. Above, beyond these are specific directions. Every living entity being down desires to relish some sort of taste. These sensual pleasures are technically called rasas. So, wait. Oh, it comes in the next paragraph. Okay, no problem. See, in the material existence, the rasa is experienced in the perverted form, which is temporary. And thus the rasas of the material world are exhibited in the material form of Rodra and so on. So these are temporary manifestations, but not real rasas, because the position itself is not real. Like you can travel in your own car, or you can take a public bus, or you can take an Uber taxi. Technically, that is also a car, but it's only a car, your car for maybe 10 kilometers or 100 kilometers. Then you have to get down. Even there, you don't have full control. You can't tell the driver, okay, you sit, I want to drive it my way, I want to enjoy this ride. No, you can't do that. So material world is also like this. The rasas here are first of all very restricted and they are temporary.
So we
But
really don't have
when
any
one,
experience of rasa, means, or it's a forgotten experience.
no, yeah, this is like we are getting some kind of a perverted experience, this- but this can become an impetus in spiritual life if you understand that this can exist in pure form and it can be realized. That's why one has to go, like when one goes through brahmacharya, grahastha, vanprasth, one learns, okay, now, this relationships within the material world were nice, but they were not reality. So I must realize my true form and enjoy the same rasa with the Supreme now, who is the real world, who's the real thing, like that.
Hmm. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, any other questions or comments? Can we stop here today? Thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat
Hare,
Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Uh,
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.